Well, welcome back this week. Um, we were looking at the calendar and just looking at all of the things that go on all over Metro Atlanta. It's interesting. There are people who, from other parts of the country, they think still that Atlanta's and the Atlanta metro area is just a small town, not much to do. You come, you go, and people just don't have a sense of what it is that Metro Atlanta is all about. I mean, it has a world champion baseball team. It has a major football team, major basketball team, has the world's busiest airport because there's so much commerce and there's so many things going on. Um, Atlanta is just an amazing place and it's the center of the South. And one of the wonderful things about living in the metro area is that there are so many different things that you can do, so many wonderful events and programs that you can take part in. And Stephanie's been doing a little bit of homework this week, and she's found among them, we picked the three that we thought would be the most fun for you to hear about. And Stephanie, why don't you tell folks just what's going on for the next week or two?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a biggie, a real biggie for all you baseball fans. And I happen to be a baseball fan too. Is the season opener for the Atlanta Braves is March the 30th versus the San Diego Padres. Now that's going to be in San Diego, but the home opener in Atlanta is going to be April the 4th. So that's just around the corner, and they're going to be going up against the Miami Marlins. Now, if you haven't been to the Battery or Truist Park, you really should make a trip there because it's really quite extraordinary. It is, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a 2.5 million square foot fixed use development. And it's located right in the intersection of I 75 and I 285 in that Smyrna Vinings area. All around are restaurants. There's the two hotels there. There are residents there. People actually, live there. They can just look out their balcony and see the ball game, which I think is pretty cool. Lots of shopping, lots of dining, and community events, and the baseball field at Truist Park. So it's a great place. Is lots and lots of games are going to be played there all spring and summer. So, try to get out there and see one. And if not, just go to the Battery and have dinner and walk around and enjoy that. So, that's a real biggie that the baseball season is starting again for all us baseball fans. The other thing that's real cool that's going on in Atlanta right now, and that's going to run through April the 13th, is the Atlanta Fair. And that is just like a state fair. And it's going to be, but the cool thing about it is it's right downtown in the heart of Atlanta. All the normal things that a regular fair has, rides, funnel cakes, um, corn dogs, entertainment, games for the kids. And that's going to go from March the 7th to April the 13th. So that's going on. Again, it is right in the middle of downtown. It is on state. Let me see here. Located across the interstate from Georgia State Stadium, the Georgia State Stadium at the corner of Ralph Abernathy and Central Avenue. So try to catch that if you like, state uh, state fairs. It's a great one to go to. And last but not least, another favorite here in Atlanta is Stone Mountain Park. Stone Mountain Park is great. It's open year round. There's all kinds of events that go down all the time. In the summertime, they have a light show that is reflected off the mountain. You get in, you pay for your car to get in, and you have this whole park with all kinds of stuff going on that is available all year round. There's stuff in the wintertime. They make snow. The kids have fun with that. But coming up right now in March through April is something called the Dino Festival. And what this is, it's going to be dinosaur themed drone and light show featuring 250 colorful dinosaurs and formations. I think that's probably going to be right on the mountain itself. And they're going to have, all around, they're going to have high flying dinosaurs in four dimensional, and a parade, and it's going to be great fun for the kids. So try to make that out. The light show specifically will be happening on Saturday, and nightly during spring break, which is coming up here very soon. I know that in Cobb County, it's going to be the first week in April. It's going to be spring break. So they're going to have the light show every single night there during that time period. So those are just three things that sounded like they were fun and exciting. And, if you haven't experienced any of them, try to get out and at least, take advantage, because Ira is right. Atlanta has so much to offer, and it has developed so much in the past. We've been out here, we've been living here for almost 40 years, and it was a little tiny, sleepy kind of southern town when we moved here, but it is vastly different and really a great metropolis right now. So enjoy.
And one of the wonderful things about all of these events, they're all centered in and around communities. Um, the ballpark, Truist Park, in the Smyrna area, and down around the Battery, um, it is surrounded by communities. And these are, for example, Smyrna was one of the older suburbs on the north side of town to be developed just north of the city of Atlanta. And so there were many, many, many streets and communities that in the 50s, 60s, and even into the early 70s, but certainly in the 50s and 60s, there were all of these wonderful little four-sided brick bungalows that were built. And over the years, many, many, many of them have been purchased, have been renovated, have been expanded, and they are just wonderful homes. Physically, they're great homes, built four-sided brick with great structures and great concrete foundation basements. But the sweetness of these communities, the proximity of these houses to each other, the friendliness of these communities, and how the communities have changed and evolved and grown up over the years, so that all of these old 60s ranches have, many of them have become really beautiful modern homes that still maintain that mid-century feeling, but everything about them is 2025. Same kind of thing in Stone Mountain, with the amazing Stone Mountain Park, which has been sort of a centerpiece in the South forever. And the events that go on downtown Atlanta, you just think, well, it's just tall buildings and that. But that's not true as well. There are so many, many residences there, condominium segments, high rises that are now built for residents, for people who work in town. So not only do you have a great deal of community and a lot of things going on, a lot of events, but you have all the opportunity to pick and choose depending on location, lifestyle, cost, to live in and around these great places and still have wonderful local communities filled with great people and lots of things to do. So people move, and they move consistently, wanting to move into these communities. And some people, they'll live in a really nifty smaller bungalow, and they get married and they have a kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. House too small. Want to move to the suburbs. They'll want to move south, maybe down into areas south of the airport, or they want to move north to further north suburbs, or out to the east into Gwinnett County. And now they have to think about what do they do and what needs to be done in order to sell that home and get that home sold for the best price and in the shortest amount of time. And a lot of it centers around really knowing some of the seller's secrets for how to prepare a home so that when buyers look at the home first online and then come and see your home, that home gives them a good feeling. Because, yes, they're looking for a certain number of bedrooms and a certain number of bathrooms and maybe certain school districts and how far is it from work. Those are all features of a home. But when buyers arrive at a home, that home needs to feel right in order for them to want to buy it. And so it becomes absolutely necessary for the home seller to know how to prepare the home so that when buyers come, that good feeling is the first thing that takes place when they step inside the home. And this is what's so important about if you are thinking about preparing to sell your home, that you need to have a real estate professional, and I've said this before, that has a team of people that are with them that helps to contribute to all of the different steps that are necessary to get that home sold and sold well, including people that are expert at marketing. See, you just don't sell something, you have to market it to the buyers and the specific buyers that are looking for a house in that price range in that area with those kinds of features so that they'll come and see it and buy it. And preparing what that house looks like and feels like inside is critically important. And a little bit later, Stephanie's going to tell you a couple of stories about houses that were not prepared and how we dealt with those issues or couldn't deal with those issues. But Stephanie, over the years, has helped a lot of buyers look at homes, and she's bumped into a lot of houses that just didn't feel all that good. Stephanie, maybe you want to just take a minute or two to talk about what happens and what the expressions on the faces are of the buyers that go walking into a house that smells like yesterday's dinner.
Oh yeah, that's always a lot of fun. Well, the one story I want to talk about is I had a client and she had very specific needs, as most clients do, but she had to be in this school district. It was a young couple. They had two kids. One of them was had learned some learning disabilities and had to be in this specific school district. And they had been renting a house in a subdivision so that the kid could go to this school. Well, the landlord kept raising the rent, and she said, I really have to buy a house." And I said, "Yeah, you do." And so we looked and we looked and we looked, and I came across a house that had everything that she needed. It was the right location, it was the right price, it was the right school district. I mean, it had all of the components that she absolutely needed. And it was an off-market property. It had not come to market yet, and I found out about it, and I said, "Let's go look at it." And so we go over there, and we open the door, and the lady was a hoarder. And so, we were walking through pathways to get through the house. Now, my client was ready to run out, and I'm like, No, let's not run out. Let's like open our minds and really look at this space, because I want you to imagine what this space is going to be like when all of this stuff is out of here, because it has the three bedrooms, it has the finished basement, it has everything that you need. Yes, it is filled with this woman's stuff, but that's not going to be here forever, and we'll get rid of it. And I finally, once she kind of was like calmed down and not ready to run out of the house, she was able to see the potential, and they ended up buying the house, and I was able to get an estate planner to come in there and help this lady sell a bunch of her stuff. I helped her get um garage sales going so she could get rid of the rest of the stuff. And then basically, my client moved in and did some painting and has been there for like, I think it's been over 10 years now. So, she bought the house at a point in time when, prices were still reasonable. And now the house is in a great school district. The kids are obviously 10 years older, and she has a tremendous amount of equity. And she wasn't just wasting all of her money renting. But it was hard sometimes to, get people to, see the potential in a space. So that was, that ended up having a great outcome. The other story I want to tell was I was representing the seller. And this was a really nice house. But the problem with the house was this was a time when everybody was faux painting their walls and sponge painting their walls and doing this and doing that to their walls. And she did every wall in the house like that. And it was a big house, and every wall was faux painted. And we couldn't sell the house because people would come in and say, the house, I can't handle all this faux painting. And I tried to get the sellers to, I said, look, you've got to paint the house. You've got to, I know you love your walls, but nobody else does. So if you want to get the fair market value for this house, then you have to paint it. And because they had to sell the house. It wasn't like, well, we just want to sell the house. They had to sell the house. But they really dug in their heels and said, no, someone's going to come along that's going to love my walls. And long story short, they didn't paint the walls, and they had to sell the house for under fair market value because they wouldn't listen to me and just get a painter in there and paint the walls. So, people really need to work with somebody who has an eye and it is their industry, meaning an experienced real estate agent who can go in and advise people either as a buyer or seller. And there has to be a trust between the two that they'll listen, because it's not like you go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you got to do this, and you go, well, no, I don't want to do that. And you're not getting any better, and you don't know why. So anyway, that's my story about preparing houses with an experienced agent to help you along the way.
One of the things that we've learned over the years, and the story that Stephanie tells was early on in her selling career. And of course, you learn from all of these experiences. But one of the things that is so important that you learn, and that a great experienced real estate professional knows, is to learn how to listen to what the home sellers feel about that home and feel about the situation, why they're moving, what the needs are, and yet also to know what their attachments are to this house that they may have lived in for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years or more. And so there's a great deal of emotional attachment to the space. And it becomes necessary for the home seller to really come to terms with the fact that now that they have decided that they need to move, this is not their house anymore. They just are renting the space. That this house now is going to belong to somebody else because your vision is where you're going to next. And yes, keep the memories, but you don't live there anymore. You don't own this house anymore. That's the psychology that's necessary, so that when you begin to take your personality out of that home, paint the walls, replace or clean the carpets, take the pictures that are all over the house that you love of your children or your grandchildren or your dogs or whatever it might be, all of that comes off the walls. All of the things that distract buyers That all has to be changed. We had a listing appointment for a listing that we actually chose not to represent. Um, it was quite an amazing house in uh, just south of Smyrna Vinings. Um, it was owned by a physician. Big house. Um, 15 years or 18 years ago, it's probably 15 years ago, that house would have marketed for $1.5 million. Today it would be three and a half, $4 million. The house was beautiful. The doctor was a collector, and he didn't collect junk. He collected fabulous art, paintings, pottery, statuary, draperies. The house was filled with amazing art. It could be a museum, and in fact, felt like a museum. When you walked into the home, you didn't see the house. All you saw was this amazing art. All the spaces, all the livability, the amazing kitchens, the massive master bedroom with a massive closet and an amazing master bath suite. Totally missed because all you could do was go, oh my God, look at that. That painting. Oh my God, look at that. And so when we suggested to that homeowner that all of the art needs to be put in storage in preparation for moving to his new home. He was actually moving out of state because the art, as amazing as it is a complete distraction. The house feels like a museum and you cannot see the house. And he said, no, I won't. I'm going to have this here until the day I move out. I said, okay. We did not take that listing because we could not help him sell that home for anywhere near the value of the home. And a year and a half later, the house was still for sale simply because he would not take his personal ego and set that aside to sell the house so that he could move on to where he wanted to go. So these are really things that become very important. And we've learned over the years and train real estate professionals when we coach on what you need to do to help home sellers become emotionally detached from the home that they live in so that you can make the necessary changes so that the next owner of the house, the buyers that are coming to see it, walk in, they like the space, it has all the right features to it, and it just feels good. So there are a number of things that are on our little seller secrets list that we suggest need to be done. When we have one of the professionals from our team or one of the real estate professionals from the teams at the brokerages around the country that are part of your home sold guaranteed realty, and they go into that first visit in the home, they do what's called a walkthrough, and it's a really thorough walkthrough. It's not, okay, just let me see the rooms. It is looking at each room individually, each space in the house, and everything outside, front, rear, sides of the home, and have a really good list of notes on what needs to be done in each space in order to neutralize it and make it feel comfortable but neutral so that when a buyer walks into that space, they can visualize their own furniture. They can visualize their own paintings on the wall. They can visualize their own pictures of their children or their grandchildren on the walls. And we do this so that there's a plan and deadlines to get this work done. Sometimes it means the house has to be completely repainted. And of course, as part of the team organization, we have contractors, painters, specialists, plumbers, all of the people that are necessary to be able to do those kinds of changes or upgrades and make it so that the work is done and it is done properly. And um, you end up in a short period of time walking back into the home, and it feels like a completely different space. It feels pleasant but neutral, so that buyers can see themselves inside this home. And there's a couple of examples that I want to talk about very briefly and ways to be able to handle this. Um, there was a nifty home up in North Fulton that we helped the seller sell about a year ago. And the house was really, really beautifully decorated for their tastes. And pictures and artwork all over the walls in every room. And a lot of imagery that was children, personal photos, things of that sort. Um, and lots of small statuary and all kinds of things in the cabinetry. And so we went through every single room and we made that list. I will tell you that the homeowner just, it broke her heart, she said, to have to just take everything out. And I said, you know what? If we get all of this done in about 3 or 4 weeks and we put this house on the market and we do one of our amazing 1 hour open houses and we get 70, 80, 90, 100 people into this house and they walk through and all of them are feeling comfortable in the spaces and feel like they could live there. This house will be sold in like 2 or 3 days, and 30 days from that, you're gone. And all of the things that you've taken from this house are going to be put in your new home. It was an emotional struggle to do it, but she went ahead and did it, got it done. And of course, house sold in just one day because all of the buyers that came through that house, even if it was not the perfect space for them, their comments were how nice the house felt, how fresh it felt, how open it felt, because we literally took half the furniture out of the home, put them in pods, and sent those pods over to where the new home was going to be. And so you can see what the house looked like before we did this change. And then you can see what the house looked like when it was photographed by professional photographers so that the public could see it. And it was still the same house, but the great emotional difference. Now, there's one other thing that happens, and sometimes there are houses where the homeowner needs to or has already moved out of the home. And that means that the house is now vacant, no furniture in it at all. Well, there are a lot of buyers that can walk in and they'll look around and they'll say, well, I can kind of sort of see my couch here and my chairs there and my table there. But a lot of buyers, when they're looking for homes and they start their home search on the internet, looking at all the houses that are available, whether they're off market or on market, through all of the portals like Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com and so on. If all they're looking at is photography of empty spaces where there's no personality and no feeling, a lot of buyers won't go see those homes because they can't imagine themselves in those spaces. And so there's a wonderful program, there's a number of them actually. They're AI programs where you can add furniture to these empty spaces so that when the house is marketed and seen by buyers, they see a picture of, let's say, the family room or great room, and it's empty. And it looks blank and bland, and all you see is a lot of carpet. And then the next picture is the same room, virtually staged, with comfortable furniture, spaced nicely, um, with pretty designs, and it therefore gives the home buyer a sense of the place. Say, ah, that feels pretty good. And a great many more buyers will then come to see a home where the rooms are empty because they've already gotten a visualization in their mind of what it could look like if it was their home. Now, with some houses, we actually bring in furniture. We stage the homes, just like on HGTV, so that when people walk in, they can see it. It feels comfortable. But either way you do it, creating a sense of environment and creating a space where buyers can walk in and feel good about the space, that's what, more than anything, coupled with location, features, and price, sells homes to buyers. Stephanie's story about the lady that was the hoarder and the young family that needed that kind of house. Stephanie, we did all kinds of things to help get all of that stuff out of the house, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we helped her organize garage sales, multiple garage sales. Hooked her up with an estate downsizing lady who came and sold off a bunch of stuff for her. We actually even found the movers so that when the time came, she had a mover. I mean, she was an older woman. She was retired and she had some physical disabilities on top of the fact that she had lived in that house for many, many years and she was just, a hoarder. Her husband had passed away. So we went, above and beyond to help her and to help our client get into the house. Absolutely.
And that's the point. Um, when you're thinking about buying or selling a home and you're looking for a real estate professional that has a team of people that surround them, it's called second mile service. You want professionals who go above and beyond to enable you to accomplish what you most need, which is to buy that perfect home or to sell that home and get what you need to be able to move on to the next circumstance that you're moving to. Second mile service. It's key to what you need to do, and it's part of what is normal and consistent when you find a great professional with a good team. And it's just one of the areas that is part of a great list of seller's secrets, the things that you need to do to prepare your home in order for you to be able to get the most money for that home, sell it in the shortest period of time, and for it to not be a painful experience. Sell it with the least hassle. If you're wanting to know what some of those seller secrets are, we have a great special report that we can send to you. All you need to do is either call us or text us and let us know you'd like that special report about seller secrets for preparing your home for sale, and we will get that to you. Stephanie and I want to thank you for joining us this week. And go have a good time. Go see a baseball game.
Yeah.
Truist Park is an amazing baseball park. It's an amazing social facility. Um, you'll have fun as well as be impressed. And if you can get to either of those two events, um, take your
Yeah.
kids. Just have a great day. You'll have a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's what makes Atlanta and Metro Atlanta such a great place to live.
Yeah. Check them out because Stone Mountain's got stuff going on all year long. So, try to get there in the summer. If you can't get there now, definitely get there for the summer for the light show. The kids will have a ball.
Absolutely. So thank you and look forward to seeing you again next time.
Have a great week. Thanks a lot.